Good morning and welcome back to Headspace HQ. Today we're going to be talking about sleep. I appreciate it depends where you're tuning in from today. You may have just woken up, you might be middle of the day, or you might be just getting ready to go to sleep. But this Friday is World Sleep Awareness Day, so we thought it was a good opportunity to look at how you can improve your sleeping habits, the way you approach sleep, and also look at the relationship between meditation, mindfulness, and sleep. One thing before we begin, it's really important to say that with sleep there is no one size kind of fits all. You know, I often see in the media, the idea that maybe kind of we have to sleep kind of or should sleep a certain number of hours a night. I think it's important to recognize our own individual situations. So it might be that you struggle with pain and the pain wakes you in the night. Maybe you sleep a little bit less. You might be two jobs or studying and not have as much time. So you might be a parent. I know myself, having been woken up last night, you lose the ability to kind of judge how much you're going to sleep. So really important right at the start, not to have any kind of fixed ideas of, okay, this is how I'm going to sleep for 8 hours a night. This is more about how to approach sleep. You know, not getting too caught up in the worry and the stress of it, so that some people even kind of get fearful when they go to bed at night, whether they're going to sleep well or not. So I'd love you to, I've got your questions coming in here. I'd love you to send in your questions. I've got a couple here that I'm going to start with that you sent in just a little bit earlier. And it's about the Headspace, specifically about the Headspace sleep pack. And for those of you that use Headspace, I think it's really important to differentiate the sleep pack and the singles. So the sleep pack is 30 days long and is not designed to be done immediately before you go to bed. You can do it then, but that's not really the idea. The idea, in fact, in most of the mindfulness studies around sleep, the meditation was done first thing in the day. And I'd encourage you to do the same thing. So that's more of it's a broader program. And somehow doing the meditation, even first thing in the morning, it finds its way into your nightly habits and into your sleep. But the Headspace singles, you'll find a sleep exercise. It's, I'd say, inspired by mindfulness. There's some exercises in there. That's being designed to use actually when you're in bed and you're falling asleep. So two different kind of packs, exercises that you can use in different ways. But there's already lots of questions coming in. It's great to see so many of you actually using the sleep pack. I'm pleased you're enjoying it. I think we're going to start with Whitney. So I need help going to bed earlier so that I can wake up earlier. My husband works nights, so I sometimes stay up late with him, and now I can't switch back over. So this I think is very common. I can also kind of relate to it as well. My wife likes to go to bed really kind of early, and I go a little bit later, and sometimes it doesn't always kind of sync up. I'm sure it's the same in a lot of homes as well. I think it's really important that you set up a schedule. Obviously you need to spend time together, but it's really important that you set up a schedule that allows you to look after yourself kind of first and foremost. And so I would almost look at it kind of, talk to each other about it, but I would almost look at it kind of independently and say, okay, what's going to work for us? Start your schedule early. Make sure that you're in bed. He might come to bed a little bit later. That's absolutely fine, as long as you're already resting. Again, I'd move away from this idea of going to bed and getting to sleep as quickly as possible. For me, it's more about restful. You know, how to achieve a state of rest. We might be in bed with our eyes closed but not sleeping. That can still be restful if we know what to do with the mind. If I think back to the monastery, we were, for those of you who don't know, I used to be a monk, and in the monastery we had about 4 hours of sleep a night. Now you could look at that and say, well, 4 hours, that's impossible, you know. Well, actually, in that environment, it kind of worked because the mind wasn't as busy, the body wasn't as busy, need a lot more sleep now. But that's the idea of, you know, it's not a length of time, it's more about how we can achieve restful sleep by approaching it in a healthy way. Peter Martin. Hi, Andy. How do you balance a desire to meditate prior to bed and a need to avoid screen use? Yeah, close to shutting down for the day. That's a great question. So what I would definitely encourage, and we'll go through some basic kind of sleep hygiene stuff today anyway. But specific to using the app and any other screens, I would definitely discourage screen use immediately before bed. If you want to use the Headspace sleep exercise, set it up, turn the phone on silent or airplane mode or whatever you do for the night, turn it over by your side. It might be playing out loud, it might be playing through earphones, but that's it. And I would, any other screens, if you can, I would say at a very minimum, turn them off an hour before bed. I think a lot of people recommend sort of a couple of hours if you can, but it's not always realistic or practical. But if you can avoid any screens for a good hour or so before bed, then that'll make a big difference. Right, let me just pick out a couple more questions. From Yvonne Hop. Hi Andy, can meditation help with my very chaotic dreams? I always wake up very tired because of my active dreaming. This is a great question for lots of reasons. So I know some people who sleep for way longer than the recommended 8 hours. I know some people who even sleep for sort of 10, 11 hours and still they wake up feeling exhausted. So clearly it's not just how long we're sleeping for, it's what the mind's doing while we're asleep. And if the mind's if it's very busy, if it's very restless, or if we're caught up in a lot of sort of anxious, sort of hectic dreams, then definitely we're gonna wake up feeling tired. One of the best things you can do for that, and I know I'm normally recommending meditation in the morning, and I stay with that. But if you could replicate or maybe meditate twice a day, then try doing one just before you go to sleep. It will help settle the mind. Alternatively, I would even say, if you struggle from this in particular, I would even switch your meditation so that you're not, rather than doing it first thing in the morning, you're doing it last thing at night, and the mind and the body has a chance to sort of wind down before you actually go to sleep. That'll make a big difference. And like with meditation, you know, the dreaming is not a bad thing. So definitely, you know, don't go into sleep thinking that the dreaming is bad. Dreaming is a really important part of the sleeping kind of process. But definitely there is a way of sort of settling the mind down within those dreams. Lots of people here using Headspace, enjoying it. Thanks for tuning in today. The rest of you, please do send in your questions. We've got lots of people using it for teenagers and for kids as well. We had in fact, there's one for children just here, from Jackie Hughes. Do you think Headspace would work for a 9-year-old with ASD? I'm assuming that's some kind of attention disorder. She struggles to switch off. Her brain goes through every little worry from the day. So absolutely, Headspace for kids is set up into age categories. There's something specific for that age. There's actually a sleep exercise in there. So yeah, I would give it a try. We've had loads of great feedback from parents using Headspace for kids, and the sleep exercise is, I don't know exactly. I saw a graph the other day that someone showed me in the office, and the sleep exercise was like used 5-6 times more than any other exercise in Headspace for kids. So yeah, give it a go for sure. It's a related question, so it's a little bit different. It says, do we have a chronic pain? This is from Neil Rainford. Hi, Neil. Do we have a chronic pain pack coming out anytime soon? So some of you already know. I actually recorded a chronic pain pack about maybe 2.5 years ago now. But rather than putting it straight on the app, we put it into clinical trials. That clinical trial finishes this month, and we'll then be allowed to release it. I'm really excited, not only about the results from the trial, but also being able to put it on the app. But I know pain's it's a massive thing for people sort of around sleep. And you know, in terms of sort of sleep hygiene and how you build up and how you can reduce the amount of pain when you go to sleep at night. So just a few kind of simple tips, and you can use whatever ones sound right to you. You know, take it or leave it. Things like eating early enough. So not eating immediately before you go to bed at night. If you can, ideally, kind of leaving a good 3 or 4 hours even before you go to sleep. No screen time. We already touched on that today. If you can leave kind of an hour or two before you go to bed, that's really helpful. I would suggest, it's just a recommendation, that your phone is either off or turned over at night time. Another thing is taking either a bath or, so not too hot, but like a warm bath or a warm shower about 20 minutes, half an hour before you go to bed. Does something to the body, and as the body kind of cools down, it naturally moves a little bit more towards sleep. So there are some really kind of basic things just in the way we approach sleep that can make a difference. If we're running around and we're sending emails and we're trying to do everything up until the very last minute and then we get in bed, we shouldn't be too surprised if the mind's very kind of active when our heads hit the pillow. And actually, this was a question that came in. It came in a little earlier. It was about, I have anxiety that seems to come alive as soon as my head hits the pillow. So I think most of us have experienced this feeling when you and it's as if suddenly like the floodgates in the mind are open. So the temptation is to think that the mind has suddenly started thinking a lot. The truth is that we've been so busy through the rest of the day, distracted by other things, that we simply haven't seen kind of the thoughts very clearly. So they're not new thoughts. It's not because we've suddenly gone to bed. It's because all of a sudden we're no longer busy. We're not doing anything. So we're experiencing kind of all those thoughts. The best thing you can do, just as in meditation, is to just let them come and go. Within the sleep exercise, I kind of talk you through that. And by the way, there's at the end of this little sort of chat, there's a present that I'd like to give you. So if you stick around till the end, there's a way of you kind of trying all these things out. A few more questions from you. Some of them have started to become a little bit more kind of meditation specific. I'd love to take them, but we're going to try and stay a little bit more on sleep today. Another one that came in just a little bit earlier was, where has it gone? Okay, if we meditate longer in the day, do we sleep deeper and better at night? And this is kind of related to in the mornings. A common question, is it better to wake up earlier and to meditate than to have a lie-in? This is a really interesting one, because the temptation, if we feel like we're not getting enough sleep, is to set the alarm for as late as possible and then just run around the house like crazy, kind of trying to get everything done. But the quality of rest that we get in meditation, once we're kind of comfortable and familiar with meditation, is actually probably far better than the quality of rest we're getting at that tail end of sleep. So I would strongly kind of recommend getting up 20 minutes earlier, doing what you kind of need to do, and then just sitting down for 10, 15 minutes. It's a great way of starting the day. You let go of the kind of sleepiness. And it's just a nice transition. It means you're much more likely to be more mindful. Kind of the choices are likely to be better throughout the day. Let me just take a few more questions. That was from Sarah. If we meditate longer in the day, do we sleep better at night? So, okay, going back to that one, it's a really interesting one. I don't know if we can say you sleep better. If you meditate longer in the day, I think it changes. It changes the nature of rest, and it changes the nature of sleep. It's quite a tricky one to kind of manage and test. But I would, like with anything, you know, I'm always saying this about meditation, I experiment. Don't take my word for it. Don't take the word of some author. Like, put these things into practice in your own life. You know, if you meditate for one day or consistently for a week, 10 minutes every day, notice how your sleep is. If you meditate for 20 minutes every day, the following week, notice how your sleep is. And just kind of experiment with these things and find out for yourself, because we're all different and we all need slightly different things. One here from Hard Kashif. When is the best time to use a sleep pack? So as I say, there's a sleep pack, which is 30 days, or three levels of 10 days. I'd recommend doing that one in the morning if you can. And then there's a sleep exercise in the singles, which is very much designed to be done last thing at night, even when you're sort of lying in bed and drifting off to sleep. There was one I saw, I'll come back to that one. There's one here from Lila. So we covered this a little bit just now. How much did you sleep when you were living in the monastery? Did you notice you needed less sleep when you were meditating for longer periods of time? So this just comes back to this idea that if we are very distracted, if we're very busy, if we're very stimulated in everyday life, then we're probably going to need more sleep. The more mindful we can be throughout the day, the less distracted we can be throughout the day, probably the less sleep we're going to need. Say in the monastery, some monasteries it was 3 hours, in some 4, some 5, but it was a very short period of time, and still it felt like most nights, not every night, like we were getting enough sleep. There's one from Gay here. It says, I'm coming off antidepressants and sleep is really bad. Any advice for early waking? So I'm assuming that you are waking up very early from that question. So it's worth, and we'll just take a moment now, just looking at the different types of, the different times of night that you might want to use some of these techniques. So for some people, sleep is an issue in terms of actually going to sleep, getting to sleep in the first place. For other people, it's waking up in the middle of the night and not being able to go back to sleep. For others, it's waking up very early, kind of the mind very active. So we're always in a cycle of sleep, and if we wake at certain times, we're less likely to go back to sleep, or it's a little bit harder. I'd recommend using the exercise on the phone to actually go to sleep. But if you wake up in the middle of the night, or you're waking up very early in the morning, I'd change it. I wouldn't reach for your phone. I think that's quite dangerous in the middle of the night, because inevitably you end up kind of looking at other stuff. If you wake up in the middle of the night, or you wake up early in the morning, there's a little part of the sleep exercise which, it's strange. It's so simple, but it works really, really well. But you have to be kind of committed to it. You can't give up kind of halfway through. So having taken a couple of sort of deep breaths, starting at 1,000, or some people even like to start at 10,000, just slowly count backwards to 0. Now, I don't know many people, or even any people, that have made it all the way to 0. It can't be done in a kind of, right, I really want to go to sleep, so it has to be done in quite a kind of a gentle way. It's almost like, okay, I'm in bed, there's nothing else to do, I'm just going to gently count backwards. And just keeping a steady rhythm. You can almost, if you like, you can sort of visualize the numbers kind of just floating by, but as you do that, it tends to steady the rhythm of the breath, and the body starts to sort of move back towards sleep. But if you're waking up really early and you absolutely can't go back to sleep, then I would get up and meditate. That would be my best bit of advice. And coming off antidepressants, any kind of medication, often messes with our sleep a little bit. So just give it a little bit of time, and more often than not, it will right itself. Chad, let me see. Lots of people coming in. So we've got about 5 minutes left if you've got any more questions. There's lots here. I'm just trying to pick out the ones that will be best for sort of a large number of you. Right. I have sleep problems. A year and a half ago, I went to see a therapist about it, and they said sort of the balance was, this is Liz, Liz Balderas. Thanks for writing in, Liz. Says the balance was a little out. It says your yin-yang balance was a little out. So I think the easiest way to think about kind of that sense of balance, masculine, feminine, yin-yang, whatever you like to call it, is one has a little bit of kind of sort of drive to it, and the other is a bit more kind of open and receptive. And when we sit to meditate, normally it kind of moves us a little more towards that sense of being open and receptive, and a little less driven. So normally if we're struggling to get to sleep, it's because we are driving in some way. Doesn't mean necessarily in our life, it might just be in our mind. But the more we meditate, the more receptive and open, soft the mind becomes, and the more likely we are to find a restful sleep. What's a book that you'd recommend on mindfulness and sleep from Bethany? I'm a bit biased. I mean, I've heard Get Some Headspace is okay. Maybe you could try that one out. There's some good sleep exercises in there as well, if you haven't read that book yet. So from Martha, my repressed memories tend to come at sleep when I'm falling asleep. Anything to avoid it. So this is interesting, and when you look at meditation and sleep kind of side by side, often when we meditate, thoughts, crazy thoughts, repressed thoughts, whatever it might be, kind of appear in our mind. That's because the filter's off. We're just allowing thoughts to come and go. In the same way, when we're sleeping, especially when we're dreaming, the filter's off, and those thoughts can kind of come in. The temptation is to want to get away from them. The more we think about trying to get rid of them or away from them, actually the more resistance we're creating. So the more thinking we're creating in the mind. As much as possible, as difficult as it might be, just allow those thoughts to come. The more we do that, the more freedom we give them, the less often they tend to arise in the mind. Regina Bean. Hi, Regina. What about having trouble getting up in the morning? Look, some people are morning. This is a real thing. Like, this isn't imagined. Some people are more morning people, and some people are more nighttime people. If you're struggling getting up in the morning, once you put all these kind of sleep hygiene factors into place, you're meditating, you've done the sleep pack, you're going to sleep using that singles. If you're still waking up kind of feeling tired, then I think it is worth looking at kind of what's going on in your life, if there are things that you can maybe ease off of or step back from. It's unusual. Once those things are in place, try that, give it 3 months. If you're still struggling with the mornings, then get in touch and I'll help you out. Let me find some more. Actually, there's lots coming up here. There's one more that I wanted to take. I was looking for just now. So what are the optimum conditions for better sleep? So we're not all fortunate enough to live in kind of padded rooms that are quiet. As I say, very often it might be work, it could be pain, it could be children, all kinds of disruptions to our sleep. I like this question because it talks about what's optimum for you. It's not what's optimum for everyone else. So I know right now, kind of for the next we're just about to have another baby. I know for the next few years, I'm probably not going to get a ton of sleep. And I think if we can be okay with our external situation, then the sleep tends to be better. So you might have a night where you have the perfect conditions. And I don't think my wife will mind me sharing this, but I know sometimes if we go away for a weekend and we don't take sort of baby, and it's the perfect conditions, and then she's so desperate, having not had sleep for so many kind of months, she's so desperate to get a good night's sleep that she doesn't necessarily kind of sleep well. So we can have all the conditions externally. If the inside, if our mind is not relaxed and at ease and just accepting kind of that we'll sleep how we'll sleep, then we still won't get a good night's sleep. So number one is look after the mind, approach sleep in a way that allows you to unwind and rest in the right way. So we'll take one more question. Let me find a broad one. So how can I calm down my daily struggle? This is Paige. Hi, Paige. Paige Crawford. How can I calm down my daily struggle with anxiety and force my mind to relax? I have a hard time quietening my mind during meditation. So this applies to both when you sit to meditate and when your head hits the pillow at night. It's such a strong tendency to push back against thinking, to resist it, to want to get away from it, to escape it. But as long as we're thinking about getting rid of thoughts, we are creating more thoughts. As soon as we just accept, okay, the thoughts, we can find an anchor to move away from it. So in meditation, we don't escape the thought, but we use the breath to focus on, so that we don't get kind of overwhelmed by the thoughts. In the same way at night, when you lie down, if you don't want to do the sleep exercise, just place your hand gently on your stomach. Feel that movement of the breath. Allow that to be your anchor, but allow thoughts to come and go. The mind needs to drift. You know, that idea, that phrase even of drifting off to sleep. We kind of need to, we can still be aware, but we need to allow the mind to drift off. If we're trying to control it, then it's very unlikely that we'll get a good night's sleep. But I'm conscious that we're coming to the end. How are we doing, guys? Have we got a couple more minutes? We're moving towards the end. So look, there was one thing there's lots more questions here. I'm really sorry if I didn't get to your question today. Please continue to send them in and we'll do our best to address them. There's one thing I really wanted to do today, and that was give you the opportunity to actually try the sleep pack and the sleep exercise. So for the next 24 hours, you can have unlimited access to Headspace for free. So of course, Take 10's always there, and you can always use that. But I wanted to give you a kind of a look inside the Headspace library and see what else is there, and see what kind of pack is right for you. So whether this is for you, or for a friend or a family member, this is only going to be here for sort of 24 hours. But a month, 30 days, free access to try the sleep pack and see if it gives you a better night rest. So thanks again for tuning in today. I hope it's been helpful. Please do let us know how you get on with the sleep pack. And yeah, happy World Sleep Awareness Day for Friday. Thanks, guys.